Stop for a moment. If you had the chance to go back and fix that one big mistake, would you do it? To prevent that traffic accident or not to make that bad investment? We all assume that the past is written in stone, that what happened, happened and can never be changed. But what if I told you that a decision you make right now, in this very second, could change an event that has already occurred in the past? No, I am not talking about science fiction. I am talking about reality itself, about the eerie rules of the quantum world. The past might not be as in the past as you think. Welcome to Secret History. What is time? This question is a complex phenomenon that philosophers have debated for ages without resolution. For instance, Plato argued that time consists merely of an illusion. To him, time is not something that truly exists in reality. It is only a perception, a reflection of change and motion in the universe. According to Aristotle, time is a reality of the universe, a dimension, and possesses an independent existence like space. He claims it reveals itself to us through the measurement of motion, that we understand it by observing movement, like the cycles the sun makes every year. As years passed and science progressed, our approach to time began to become a bit clearer. According to the father of physics, Isaac Newton, time is absolute and constant, meaning for any observer in the universe, time is always in every way the same and never changes. This pattern of thought was characterized as an immutable truth for years, just like many other Newtonian laws, and caused many other interesting ideas to be ignored. For example, take Nikolai Kozyrev's theory that time is an energy and data network encompassing everything. Although initially disregarded, we have now proven this theory. At least the part that discovers time acts like an energy transfer or data transmission mechanism. In fact, this is a very recent event. It was proven in March 2023 via a highly interesting experiment. I want to mention it briefly as far as I understand from the article. Imagine you are in a cave and you shout the name John. The sound waves reflect off the surface and reflect the word John back to you as an echo, right? In this specific experiment, a special setup was established to ensure that time waves reflected off a metallic surface, but in reverse. This means, well, to explain it simply, I will return to the cave example. You shouted John, but this time, because the time wave reflecting off that special surface is reversed, instead of hearing an echo of John, you would hear the sound no jam reflecting back to you in time. Simply put, the reverse of John. It is an incredibly interesting experiment, and its depths are still being explored. Let us return to our current understanding of time. The concept of time most generally accepted right now is Einstein's theory of relativity. According to this, time is a phenomenon that flows at different speeds in different places, influenced by large masses in space. So if one of two twin brothers stays on Earth and the other goes near a black hole, 1 hour passed for the brother near the black hole could be equivalent to 10 years passed for the brother on Earth. This is directly proportional to how close the brother in space is to the black hole. Because the closer you get to the black hole, the closer you get to the point where time is bent due to the incredible mass. However, no matter how much information we produce, discussions and research about the structure of time continue today. Yes, we know the effects of large masses on time, but we do not yet know what time is. Is it an energy that surrounds everything, as Kozyrev said? Is it an illusion, as Plato said? Or is it a concept invented by clock sellers to get rich, as Karl Marx suggested? Don't get confused just yet. Those were just warm-up thoughts. Now get into a more comfortable position because your brain is about to be thoroughly fried. Today, thanks to the discovery and advancement of quantum physics, we have begun to understand that many things we thought we knew are actually completely wrong. Fundamental states of matter, light speed constants, time. Many of our fundamental points are now shattering, and we are heading toward brand new horizons that we didn't even know we didn't know. One of the experiments leading us into that unknown is the quantum eraser experiment. It went from being an experiment to investigate the basic structure of matter, to becoming that famous experiment that destroyed our concept of time as we know it. The year is 1978. Theoretical physicist John Archibald Wheeler began to theorize about the phenomenon encountered in the Double Slit Experiment conducted in 1801, where light, thought to be a particle, behaved like a wave when there was no observer, and like a particle when there was an observer. He performed thought experiments and asked this question: how can light know whether it is being measured or not? I want to add a note here. If you haven't watched my videos on the Double Slit Experiment, please pause this video right here and watch them first. Otherwise, you won't fully understand what is being described. This experimental idea proposed by Archibald Wheeler was finally realized in the year 2000 by a team led by Austrian physicist Anton Zeilinger. And the brains that were already turned to ash by the Double Slit Experiment completely vanished, because the experiment personally shattered our perception of reality and time. I want to tell you about the experiment simply. Assuming you watched the Double Slit Experiment video, imagine the same setup is established. The only difference is, this time, it's not a single photon shot. They arranged two beams of light that have entered into quantum entanglement with each other, traveling on two different routes to hit different surfaces. Experiment 1, the beams are fired without an observer, and they leave a wave pattern on the surface, proving the double slit experiment. When the experiment is done with an observer, they leave a particle pattern. Everything is normal. Well, actually, even this is an ultra-abnormal event, but let's call it normal for now. Experiment 2. An observer is added to the route of one of the beams, but not to the other, and they are fired at the same time. The beam with the observer leaves a particle pattern on the surface, but the beam without the observer also creates a particle pattern on the surface, as if an observer were present. Actually, even though this is surprising, it is normal, because remember, the two beams are quantum entangled. We can simply call them twin beams. But with the third experiment, everything changes. This time, the route of the first beam is extended, and an observer is added at the end of the path. The route of the second twin beam is shortened, and no observer is added. The two beams are fired at the same time again. The beam with a short route and no observer hits the surface. A short time later, the beam taking the long road with the observer also hits the surface, and because there is an observer, leaves a particle pattern trace. But what burns the brain is this: even though there was no observer, and before its twin beam was observed, the beam that hit the surface first also left a particle pattern. But this is impossible. The beam taking the short road cannot know that its twin beam will be observed in the future, right? This approach proves a reality that burns the brain even worse. Actually, the light on the short path had formed a wave pattern, but when its brother on the long path was observed at the last moment and turned from a wave into a particle, it changed the past of its entangled twin, transforming it into a particle as well. In other words, the information of the beam went back in time and reconstructed reality from the beginning. Mind-blowing, isn't it? but the experiment is repeated dozens of times with different setups. Yet no matter what we do, no matter how much we extend the path, the reality does not change. Whatever happens to the brother on the long road, the reality of the beam that went the short way and had already left a mark on the surface changed accordingly. In short, time was not a phenomenon that flows by where the past is finished and the future is uncertain, as we generally think. Time was a whole encompassing everything from beginning to end, and the changes we make right now could even affect the past. This also shows us the following. Time was also an infrastructure capable of carrying data, just like in one of Nikolai Kozyrev's claims. Because of this, it carried the future data of the beam to its quantum entangled twin in the past, causing it to change as well. If you haven't been able to fully wrap your mind around this, don't be surprised at all, because no one has fully wrapped their mind around it yet. In fact, the experiment is still being repeated today. Although some YouTube physics channels say the experiment results come out different, I personally prepared this video based on the articles of the actual people who performed the experiment. This confusion is actually the most fundamental feature of quantum physics. The fact that we have difficulty comprehending it, even though we see it, because there is a physics that is completely contrary to our basic concepts of physics and reality, shattering the logical limits of our brains. I have frankly tried to explain it to you in the simplest form as far as I understand. Although the experiment is confusing, the truth it revealed was quite clear. As I said a moment ago, rather than being a concept where time flows, the past is over and the future is uncertain. Time is a whole where everything has already happened and finished. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously, and our behaviors and decisions cause this whole to instantly reshape itself. This concept might sound familiar to you from somewhere, and now the pure science section of the video is over. Next, we begin the section where science merges with the wisdom of the ancient world. And again, take a deep breath, because the connection between the two will surprise you again. When we examine beliefs that are thousands of years old, like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, we encounter many extraordinary pieces of information, such as cycles of creation, nirvana, and the Akashic realm. One of the most interesting and comprehensive of these is the philosophy and belief of karma. Coming from a Sanskrit root, the word karma can essentially be translated into English as action. According to the concept of karma, every action you take, whether physical, verbal, or mental, creates an energy or force that affects your life. This energy can lead to positive or negative results, depending on the quality of our actions and the intention behind them. In essence, it suggests that we reap what we sow. If we engage in healthy and virtuous actions, it is likely we will experience positive results, whereas unhealthy actions can lead to negative results. Karma actually handles the concept of destiny, which modern Abrahamic religions present to us somewhat incorrectly, in a more logical way. You know, nowadays, whatever happens to someone, they say it's fate. It was written on their forehead. There is no escape. However, this submissive perspective is completely contrary to the philosophy of divine teachings and belief systems that are based on free will. Because according to the fundamental philosophy of these beliefs, human beings are entities created with free will. The moment someone comes out and says, "You cannot escape fate, whatever is written will happen," this purpose of creation and free will completely collapses. Because the result arises that someone has already arranged your choices. In Eastern philosophy, this event has been progressing on a basic backbone for a long time. According to this, the concept of karma takes the concept of fate. And remember, the root meaning of the word fate is actually measuring or apportioning. And by placing karma inside that concept, it tells us that the good actions or bad actions we take in our lives will ultimately determine our destiny. Isn't it a much more logical and fair approach? Otherwise, if we come into the world with a destiny that is already certain, it means we are no different from puppets. Here we arrive at the place where modern science intertwines with the wisdom of the past. The concept of karma is actually a much more inclusive and broad concept than what I just explained, because it deals not only with a person's present time, but also their past and future. Do not think of this as the time period between when you were 5 and when you are 85. It covers all periods, starting from your past lives up to your future lives. Here is where the color of the business changes and slowly begins to intertwine with the quantum world. According to the philosophy of karma, you possess your current life as a response to the good or bad behaviors you performed in your past life. And what you do in your current life will affect how your subsequent existences will be. Ultimately, the goal is to learn and mature in every life, finally reaching the level called nirvana, escaping this cycle, and uniting with the main creator. According to this philosophy, the purpose of a human in the current life cycle is to detect the times where they were lacking or mistaken in previous lives, and to repair them. This is, of course, easy to say, but hard to do. Because first, you need to comprehend, or at least think about, what you did wrong or right in your old life, and what is lacking or excessive in this life accordingly. To give a simplified example, according to this approach, let's say you were a cat struggling with hunger on the street in your previous life. And this fear of hunger worked into your subconscious so deeply that your eyes are never satisfied. You cannot cut back on eating, and you condemn yourself to an unhealthy life by gaining weight. This philosophy advises you to ask, why can't I stop eating? Could there be a deeper reason lying underneath this? With this approach, you slowly start trying different methods to soothe that endless feeling of hunger. And perhaps you realize the solution lies not in satisfying your own hunger, but in satisfying the hunger of others. By volunteering at a soup kitchen and feeding a destitute person struggling with hunger, or by feeding a stray cat just like the person in our example once was, you can treat this emotion of hunger inside you. Now, this example I gave was one I made up based on the philosophy, but I think you understand the logic. Look, pay attention. The message confronting you is, to repair your current state and make your future better, you need to repair your past. This concept was also given to me during the years I received Reiki training. I didn't fully understand back then what the information meant, that you need to forgive and accept your past for your heart chakra, the center of emotional bonds, to heal. But now I comprehend it better. It is not a concept that talks only about this life. It is a concept that covers previous ones, if they exist. And if we do not accept and embrace our past, with the good and the bad, we also affect our future. For those saying, but the past is already done and over, what does it matter if I accept it or not? Remember the experiment again. Of the entangled beams, the result of the one taking the long road had already reached the target. It could go back in time and change the reality of the past one. The entangled particle shows us particles that are identical to each other. While giving the example, I said twin beams, but actually both were just two parts of the same beam. So, aren't the you in your past and the you right now parts of the same entity? In short, aren't you entangled? Then, according to the results of this experiment, it means you have the power to change something in your past today. But considering the topics we are discussing are energetic matters, we are not talking about going to the past with a time machine, at least for now. That is a completely separate event. We are talking about your consciousness going there as an energetic and metaphysical concept. Do not forget, your brain is an organ capable of receiving and transmitting data from the quantum realm. This is a separate concept that quantum physics has begun to prove to us. So then, use it. Use it so that you can accept your mistakes and regrets in the past, adopt them as a part of your path, and build your future, and perform the control of these 3 time periods now, right now, in this time. Hermetic knowledge, which has influenced many philosophers and scientists throughout the ages, handles time with an interesting description and places the concept of the great time cycle before us. According to this, time is a structure that unites the past, today, and tomorrow in a single point. And every decision we make, every pattern we put in our minds, causes this cycle to be structured by our will. There are surely those among you who say, "Why do these things always happen to me?" when they experience something bad. Because you held this belief in the past as well, and whatever that thing you were avoiding was, it was actually brought upon you again by you due to your adherence to this mentality. However, the Hermetic approach tells us that to escape this vicious cycle, we must accept that we are a part of the progression of everything that happened in the past and is happening now. And it admonishes us to save our present moment and our future by leaving ourselves to the guidance of time without getting stuck in past patterns. Meaning, once again, the concept of change your past so your future improves appears before us. Hermetic belief states that those who could not fix their past will cause the negative cycle to continue by transferring their fears, anxieties, anger, and resentments to the next generation, that is, to their children, and also that this burden of the past will prevent them from progressing in their spiritual journeys. In Hermetic information, reincarnation does not pass exactly as a physical rebirth, like in Eastern philosophy. Rather, it tells us that the soul will continue on its path in some way after death until it is fully enlightened. And it places the main message in all philosophies and beliefs before us once again. Ultimately, if you want to end the infinite time cycle and reach the source, make peace with your past and accept the journey with everything in it. The quantum eraser experiment is one I particularly enjoy. Even if I barely understand quantum physics, that unknown, those extreme approaches attract me very much. But this experiment appealed to me additionally because I established links very relevant to philosophy and faith. The concept that a person's decisions today and changing their mindset can change their past, and thus give them peace today, is truly a concept that needs to be thought upon. As we better understand the effects of this event, we will also better understand that time is not a concept slipping through our fingers, but a dimension, a whole, that is inclusive from beginning to end. And thanks to this, perhaps we will better realize that concepts like the past, today, and future are recorded in the Akashic realm, as people in the past said, or everything that has happened is happening and will happen is written in the Levi Mahfuz, the preserved tablet, are not imaginary fantasies but temporal dimension concepts that need to be investigated. Sometimes there are people on the channel who are disturbed by my combining philosophy or religious concepts with science. But personally, my belief is this way. I love blending science, philosophy, and faith together. And frankly, as days pass, these concepts are getting closer to each other. This makes me happy. Of course, when I say faith, I am not talking about today's corrupt systems. I am talking about essential faith philosophy and ancient esoteric teachings. Those who watch the videos on the channel are already aware of this. With this approach, I wanted to present to you both a subject that interests me scientifically and the concept of time philosophically. Do not forget the quantum eraser experiment. Remember that no matter how difficult your conditions in life are today, recall always that this is just a period in your great journey, and that by changing your thought structure and perspective, you can turn this period into a valuable time for yourself. And remember that you can save yourself from unnecessary burdens, unnecessary thoughts, and pain that you loaded onto your own shoulders and become freer and happier. After this video, do not forget to apply a quantum eraser to the bad memories in your past. So what do you think the concept we call time is? Is it really a dimension we cannot fully comprehend right now? Is it possible to send data into it, toward the past or future? And perhaps one day when we advance in physics, will we be able to move physically inside this dimension? Or is time something that flows by and never returns? Don't forget to write your ideas in the comments section. Let's discuss. Thank you all for watching the video. If you like the content, you can support by subscribing to the channel. Take care of yourselves until we meet next week.